Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lysha and I'm the owner of Lysha Be Creative. Today we are back with another spooky tutorial and we're going to do this freshly brewed espresso using some of the items from the most recent BAMF subscription box. So of course everything I use will be listed and linked down below. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's tutorial. So first I'm going to start by showing you guys this month's subscription box. So this is the September subscription box from BAMF Custom Creations. The freebie was the adhesive apothecary glitter glue, which I've been dying to try. And this collaboration was actually in collab with Sarah Shop Creates. I absolutely love all of her digital designs. She's amazing. So I am really excited for this subscription box because it's all spooky themed and it's literally just the cutest thing ever. So of course with BAMF subscription box you get a combination of like 10 vinyls with like a decal sheet. It's a combination of like transparent, semi-transparent, and opaque vinyls, all of which I hope I get to use up before the, of course, spooky season is over. But I love all of these, and eventually they'll be available, I believe, individually on the website, but I'll link the website down below in the description box. So first thing we're gonna do is I've already prepped a tumbler, just a 30-ounce tumbler we have here with a bit of some, or a 20-ounce tumbler here that we have with just spray paint, a white spray painted base, of course, and we're going to use the glitter glue as our adhesive today. And so I've been dying to try this glue because I've been wanting to get away from Mod Podge. Mod Podge has just not been my friend, never really has been my friend, not my favorite thing to use. So when I saw that this was in as the goodie or freebie in this month's subscription box, I was super excited because I can never seem to get their glue when it's in stock. I always seem to run to the site and it's out of stock. So we're going to add a nice layer of this glitter glue. I did note that it does have a little bit of a different smell than Mod Podge. It reminds me more of polyacrylic. So if you're someone who's a little bit sort of sensitive to smells, it might be something that bothers you. I didn't find that it bothered me because it did remind me of polyacrylic, so I wasn't really bothered by it. But anyway, just wanted to kind of let you guys know that as well. But we went ahead and we added fairy tale glitter from Lysha Creations over the top of that. After that dried, you guys know that this went on the turner for a couple coats of epoxy so that I could make sure that we had a nice smooth coat since we're going to be layering vinyl on top of our glitter for this design. After it's gotten off the turner, I'm going to go ahead and sand down anything that's rough, really focusing on my top rim and any of the rough pieces that are on the bottom portion of my rim as well, just making sure to have a nice smooth coat. That way when we go to do our next step, which is going to be to add the power wash over top of this, making sure we have a nice smooth surface that isn't going to showcase any of those bumps and things from any of that glitter that might still be sticking up. So once I'm done with my sanding process, of course, I'm going to wipe this down with a bit of 91% rubbing alcohol before we take this outside to spray paint and do our power wash. So I'm using two colors and I'm going with candy pink as well as modern mint, both from Rustoleum. We're going to do the power wash method. So I'm spraying my Dawn power wash sort of all over the cup. And then we're going to go in with both of our two colors here. So you guys have seen me do power wash before. And the reason why I chose these two colors was because they matched the best to the vinyl that we're using for today. And so I figured that this would be a really cute look underneath all of the vinyl elements that we're going to have. So we're going to see those bursts of paint, but we're also really going to be able to see all of that gorgeous glitter underneath too. And I just thought this was the perfect pairing for this design. So after that dried, I did go in with a third coat of epoxy. So we're now at 3 coats of epoxy before I've taken this back off the turner to do my sanding. We are going to sand the top rim again because again, we did cover up that fine rim of stainless steel when we did our power wash. And so I want to make sure that I'm exposing that stainless steel again. So we're going to be using this cute little freshly brewed espresso. vinyl sheet from BAMF Custom Creations in collab, of course, with Sarah Shop Creates. And we're going to use the matching decal that goes with it. So the way that I like to cut my V-splits if I don't want to fold the whole pattern is I just take a piece of 12 by 12 like construction paper or, scrapbook paper, and I fold that into fours, and I kind of use that to be my template. Certainly you could cut this out on your Cricut if you wanted, but for me, it's just much easier to just use this template as sort of my base because it really is the perfect sizing for the 20-ounce tumbler that we're going to be applying this to. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that as my guideline and use my craft knife to cut the triangle piece out that we need to be able to wrap around the cup. Being careful that I don't cut through my mat on the bottom, so I did just put another piece of paper underneath just to protect anything that is on my surface. So once that is cut out, we're going to go ahead and pull this right off of that sheet of vinyl there, and we're going to go ahead and get this applied. So we're not going to use the full section here. We're going to have quite a bit of overlap over the top because I want to add another like 1-inch section of the same vinyl to the bottom. And so I want to make sure that this V doesn't go too low because I still want to be able to see all of that glitter and all of the paint that we've put underneath this vinyl pattern to be able to have all of that kind of show through. So I'm going to take my time here and apply my vinyl one side at a time, pulling up any sections that might be creating air pockets or bubbles, and then just smooth that on. Normally you guys see me use my squeegee tool, but for whatever reason I was having a hard time finding my squeegee tool at this moment. So I just decided to go in with my hands, which was just as easy. This is really easy vinyl to work with. It stretches really nicely as well, which is super helpful when it comes to needing to trim off the excess at the top, which we're going to do now. So in order for me to trim off the excess, I like to pull the vinyl over top really taut and tight. That way I can cut a nice straight line and not cut any like jagged edges or anything into, the top rim of that vinyl. And then we're going to clean this up even further with my cup edging tool as well to have a little bit of the glitter and the paint exposed at the top section too. So I do this for the reason of sometimes you can get a bit of puckering with your vinyl when you try and apply vinyl over coats and layers of epoxy. And so to avoid that, it just makes sense to just cut a little bit higher on your vinyl so that you have more glitter and whatever's underneath exposed so that you don't run into those puckering issues, which can be kind of a hassle and kind of annoying when you get into the epoxying process. So I then just snipped sort of a 1-inch section off of the bottom here that we're going to add to the bottom of this cup here. And so we're going to get this wrapped around. And so I've seen this sort of design a couple times. I think I've even seen Alyssa from Sarah Shops Create even do this herself. I really love this design, and it's not one I've ever actually done on the channel or done on a cup before, but I kind of love this look of like, it's almost a V-split, but it's almost like a striped cup. It's just a super cute kind of look. And then we're going to place that decal, of course, right in that open section on the back. So normally in a V-split, right, our front section would be the actual V-split, but we're going to make the front section of this cup that open area where all of that glitter and vinyl or glitter and spray paint is exposed. So just finishing up with this bottom section here, I realized that the piece I cut was a little bit wonky and not quite straight, and so I didn't want that to mess up my vinyl work since I'm working with really thin vinyl lines to be able to do sort of the vinyl work on here. So I'm just going to trim up this kind of wonky section that was a little bit uneven before we go in with our cup edging tool. So we're going to cut the bottom edge and make sure that that has a nice straight line on the bottom, and of course remove that excess of vinyl. And then we're going to do the same to the top. So again, as I mentioned, just a way to ensure you don't end up with any puckered or wonky vinyl at the top, which can happen quite often when you're applying vinyl on top of coats and layers of epoxy. So I'm going to finish sort of trimming off all of this section, get this removed, and then we're going to get into applying our decal. So with the vinyl pack and with the subscription pack, all of the Aside from the 10 vinyls, as I mentioned, you also get vinyl decals that match, and they're always white backed decals, which I love, which means you can really apply them on any base. So definitely my favorite, and they just come on like this cute decal sheet. And so I just cut this one out of the decal sheet, the freshly brewed espresso. I'm gonna trim up the edges just a little bit, just so I don't have so much of like the backing on the decal, since we're not really going to need that, and I want to minimize any ability to be able to see the edges when we epoxy this. So I'm going to go ahead and just line this up on my cup. Then I will peel back just like a little bit of the edge there and sort of do the hinge method here. So we're going to adhere that one side that's exposed and off of the backing, and then we will go ahead and apply the rest of it with the squeegee tool, just pushing that backing right off. That way we can make sure we don't have any bubbles or anything that is going to be trapped under that vinyl decal. So the last thing we're going to do to get this cup ready to get on the turner for final coats is we're going to add some vinyl striping. So this is the Tech Wrap Craft vinyl. It's the sparkly black, I believe. I think it's glitter black or sparkly black. I'll have to look it up, but you guys know it'll be listed in the description box. But this was actually the inner portions of some vinyl lines that I had cut forever ago. I always keep these scrap pieces for this reason. Sometimes I don't want to have to fight with my Cricut or, you know, open up Cricut Design Space to cut vinyl lines. And if I don't have washi tape on hand, I love to just use like the inner portions in between vinyl lines that I've already cut, because they also then serve as the vinyl decal lines that I need to be able to do any line work on any of my cups. So little cheat, little hack there. Believe me, I'm not the first one to come up with this, but it's definitely been a lifesaver and a time saver when it comes to getting cups finished quickly. Not having to get into Cricut Design Space is always my friend. So any way to kind of avoid that is definitely a plus in my book. So we're going to do the vinyl work all over each edge of this vinyl that's exposed. So the top rim, the two lines that'll be around the bottom portion, and of course the actual V-split section as well. So I'm just going to speed that section up because of course you guys have seen me do vinyl work before. Nothing crazy, nothing new. We're just going to trim off the excess. And then the final thing that I'm going to do before this does go back on the turner is I'm going to add a little bit of polyacrylic all over those lines, because these lines do tend to like to move sometimes under epoxy, and so sealing them really does help make sure I don't get any lifting or anything wonky on my final coats of epoxy. So this is it in its final coat of epoxy on the turner. And then of course this was kind of it for this cup. I really did love that a lot of the brunt work for this cup was done kind of right at the front and right at the beginning of the tutorial, and then being able to add all of the vinyl elements afterward, it just really pulled this all together. But I hope you guys did love today's tutorial. Of course, if you did, before you go, give this video a huge thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, and you guys know that I will see you in the next one. Bye!